What's up, football fans? We had an amazing week one of football games. The NFL is back and in full force. We still have a Monday night game tonight. I think Broncos and Seahawks. Russell Wilson will be going back to Seattle to have his debut with the Denver Broncos. That'll be exciting to see. We've had a lot of great games all weekend, starting with the Thursday night matchup, which kind of was a blowout. The Bills beat the Rams 31-10. Bills look really good. Josh Allen looks good. Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, that defense with Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer look really good. Stafford was kind of off. Kupp's got to do a lot on his own. Allen Robinson didn't really get a lot of targets. Josh Allen threw a pick. Another one wasn't really his fault, but he was a little inconsistent. However, they put up 31 points. The defense held the Rams offense to 10 points. I think the Rams are going to go through kind of a Super Bowl hangover. It looks like, they lost Von Miller. He looks like he's back for the Bills. It's just, the Rams kind of got that Super Bowl they were kind of getting so close to getting to and winning. They had been there a couple years ago and lost, but now they got it, and I think they're going to go through that kind of Super Bowl hangover. They did drop the banner on Thursday. They did get their rings on Thursday, so it is, a little bit of it was a lot going on that night. So Rams probably will bounce back, but so far the Bills are up 1-0, and the Rams are 0-1. So now to yesterday's games, which were pretty amazing. There was a lot of close ones, a lot of games that looked like blowouts early that teams rallied back and either won or tied, or the other team was able to sneak it out. It was really an exciting day. We'll start with the Saints and Falcons. Marcus Mariota played really well. He did a great job just kind of handling the offense. Cordero Patterson ran his head off. He was really good. Falcons got out to an early lead against the Saints. Saints struggled for a while. Then Jameis Winston and Michael Thomas happened. 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Saints got ahead and won 27-26. Young Ho Koo, the Falcons kicker, had a chance to win on a 63-yarder at the end of the game, and he was blocked. Tough way to lose for the Falcons after being ahead most of the game. Reminded me of the Super Bowl when they were up 28-3 on Brady. But the Saints, Winston, that defense, Taysom Hill had a lot of rushing yards. He did really well yesterday. The Saints showed a lot of heart, staying with it, staying with the offense and playing good defense. They had to get some stops late to kind of get the ball back, but they did what they had to do and came out with the W. So Saints are 1-0 and the Falcons are 0-1. That's a divisional game, so that Falcons played a lot better than I thought. The fact that they were ahead early and really kind of jumped out on the Saints showed me that they're a team that's going to win some games this year. Just a tough loss yesterday. But yep. So we'll probably see them more. Hopefully Kyle Pitts can get more involved in the offense. But, tough loss, losing 27-26. Steelers and the Bengals. This is probably the game of the year already. They said that we had a whole season of games in one day yesterday. This game was crazy. 4 first-half turnovers for Joe Burrow, 3 interceptions and a fumble loss, 5 total for the game. The Bengals were down early to the Steelers. They came roaring back. Joe Burrow, made some plays, got them back in it. They went into overtime. There was field goals missed, field goals blocked. Well, Micah Fitzpatrick blocked one at the end of the game. The Bengals were trying to win in regulation, got blocked, and then they both missed kicks in overtime. And then Boswell finally kicked the game-winning 53-yard field goal for the Steelers. Mitchell Trubisky got his first win as a Steeler. It's a lot of guys go into their new teams and they don't win that first game. So for him to win, that's a big thing for the Steelers. And they look good. They look good on offense with their receivers, and they just, their defense looked really, really good. Obviously, we all heard T.J. Watt might have tore his pectoral. That might be a season-ending injury. They're hoping it is a partial tear. The reigning defensive player of the year may be out for the season. Hopefully, like I said, it's a partial and he'll be back at some point. But a tough loss for the Steelers, even though they won the game against the Bengals. Joe Burrow and the Bengals still almost won, even though they had 5 turnovers. That shows us that the Bengals, if they cut down on some of those mistakes, they will be a team that is tough to beat. They stayed in it the whole time and actually had multiple chances to win this game, and they kind of just let it slip through their fingers. Now on to a game that I was watching closely yesterday. It was the one that was on in our area. Obviously, the Chicago Bears hosted the San Francisco 49ers. A lot of talk going into the game about the 49ers. A lot of talk about Trey Lance, this running game with Elijah Mitchell, having Debo. George Kittle was out for yesterday. Jimmy Garoppolo was on the sidelines. The San Francisco defense, they signed, Ward in the offseason. They had Fred Warner. They have guys on this team. We all know as Packer fans what this 49ers team has. And yesterday against the Bears, it looked like early that the 49ers would kind of manhandle the Bears, and it would be just one of those shows yesterday, one of those games yesterday. But the Bears stayed with it. Their defense, Eddie Jackson got an interception. Roquan Smith was playing well. They just stayed in it long enough. We all know it was so rainy, so sloppy. It was really tough for anybody to get footing, the quarterbacks to do anything. Even the kicker tried to, mat the field and dry it up a little bit, and he ended up having to punt because you're not allowed to try to dry the field during the game. Even though you're able to shovel snow when it's snowing, you're not able to dry the field when it's raining. Kind of a funny concept, but I think that was the 49ers kicker. The punter, 49ers punter did it, and they actually had to punt after that. Might have been the Bears guy. I'm not really sure. I just remember somebody having to mat the field. Thought that was funny. They went from having to be able to kick a field goal to getting a 15-yard penalty and having to punt it. But Justin Fields, he struggled. Trey Lance really struggled. He was off. He had some open ones that he missed. It was just a tough game all in all for the Bears and the 49ers. The Bears came out and they ended up winning the game. Justin Fields, 2 touchdowns, 121 yards. He was 8 of 17. In that weather, that's tough. Running game didn't really get going. But Trey Lance struggled even more. 13 of 28. That's a 46% completion percentage, 164 yards and a touchdown. He led the San Francisco 49ers in rushing yards with 54. Debo had 52. We all know Elijah Mitchell went out of the game with an injury. Hopefully he'll be okay, but I think it's going to be a few weeks at least for him. San Fran looked rough. I know the weather had a lot to do with it. It was in Chicago, like I said, so they're known for their weather. And it was tough sledding for both teams, both offenses. And, Justin Fields and the Bears came out on top. They were able to make a little bit more plays, a little bit less mistakes, and they were able to win the game 19-10. For the Bears, it's a big win because obviously the Packers lost, the Lions lost, and the Vikings won against the Packers. So now the Bears are tied for first in the NFC North. It is only week 1, but it is a good start for the season for their new offensive coach, their new offensive head coach, and it's a tough start of the season for Trey Lance. The Bears at Bears was a game that the 49ers were probably favored by a lot. I don't know the line on that one, but I'm guessing that they, as Super Bowl favorites, contenders against the Bears team, who everybody thought might be one of the worst teams in the league, they 49ers must have been favored yesterday. And to lose by 9 points is a tough loss, tough opening for Trey Lance. And Jimmy Garoppolo was just sitting on the sideline, a guy who's played in a lot of those games. And now I heard that Shanahan's like 8 and some crazy number without Garoppolo. And with Garoppolo, he's got like an 80% winning percentage or something crazy like that. So who knows what the 49ers will do after this. Obviously, you can't have Trey Lance be your leading rusher. You can't have Debo be your second leading rusher. You need to have a running back. I know Mitchell got hurt, but not a lot of options. The passing game just couldn't get going. I know the weather had a lot to do with it, but still you want to see more out of these guys. They're professionals. They should be able to play in any weather. And so just a tough loss for the 49ers. We'll see if they bounce back. But kind of what I was saying, Trey Lance might struggle this year. He's inaccurate, and accuracy is king in the NFL, as we will find out later on when we talk about other games. But Trey Lance struggles with accuracy. Justin Fields struggles with accuracy. And you can't always rely on your athleticism when it comes to the NFL. These guys are too fast, too big, and too good to just outrun them like you used to when you were in college or in high school. So 49ers lose 10-19 against the Bears. Now, a game that I really like to see. I wish we could have watched it here, but the Browns at the Panthers. We know all the craziness happening with the Browns this year with Deshaun Watson. They brought in Josh Rosen. They signed Jacoby Brissett. They traded for Amari Cooper. They lost some guys on offense, but they still have some pieces. They lost Landry. Last year they traded OBJ, but their defense is still sound. They still have Myles Garrett. They still have Denzel Ward. The Browns have a good team, but they're going into Carolina to play against their old quarterback, Baker Mayfield, who I do like. I do like Baker Mayfield. I think he's a talented quarterback. He showed it yesterday that he's got heart and resilience, and he can still play. Obviously, it's been a while since he's been a quarterback. He's struggled last year with the injury. It's been a while since he's been a healthy quarterback, I mean. Last year with the injury with the shoulder, he just wasn't himself. So he did rally the Panthers back from being quite a bit down against the Browns. Nick Chubb ran the ball so well. He had like 8 missed tackles, I think, something like that. He had people miss tackles on him that led the league yesterday. Nick Chubb is really good. Kareem Hunt did his job as well. Jacoby Brissett struggled a lot early on. Amari Cooper didn't have many receptions in the first half. It was tough sledding for this Browns team on offense. Jacoby Brissett's not the answer at quarterback, I do not think. They might want to look for a different quarterback, but Jimmy G is available, and we all know that Dak Prescott just got injured. He might be out for a little while, so we'll get to that later when we get to Tampa. But teams might be looking for a quarterback early already. We know Tyler Huntley of the Ravens is a guy that teams are looking at as well. But the Browns, they came out yesterday with the win, but I think Baker showed he has some resolve. He has Christian McCaffrey behind him. He was throwing a deep 75-yard pass to Robbie Anderson. It was a blown coverage by the Browns, but still, it was a good pass, good catch. And we all know Robbie Anderson was trying to support Sam Darnold, but he doesn't mind catching touchdowns from Baker Mayfield. Not a lot of those 75-yard bombs last year from Sam Darnold, so I'm sure Anderson is happy. Even though they came away with the loss at home, 26-24, it was still a big comeback for the Panthers. They actually took the lead 24-23, and the Browns were able to go down the field and kick a field goal. 58-yarder by Cade York to win the game, the rookie. Pretty impressive by him to kick such a long field goal. But these guys nowadays with these legs are just, pretty amazing what they can do kicking the ball. But yes, the Browns win their home opener after all the drama of the offseason. We know they get Deshaun Watson back, I think, week 13. It ends up being against Houston Texans. But for now, it's Jacoby Brissett. They squeaked away with the win, even though he had his struggles. And so Panthers lose. They're 0-1. Browns are 1-0. And, all these are going to, every game matters. You got to go 1-0 every week. And that's why, week 1, Overreaction Monday on week 1 is always something that everybody does because we saw it's so fresh in our minds. But we have to take it all with a grain of salt. This is just week 1. There's so many changes that are going to happen throughout the season. And what happened today is not going to be, determinant of the rest of the season as a whole. So, next is a really good game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions. Yesterday, Philadelphia got out to an early lead. They were throwing it really well. A.J. Brown, 10 receptions, 155 yards. I think he's like the eighth most for a debut wide receiver on a new team in NFL history. That's pretty impressive. Jalen Hurts was running the ball nice. They ran the ball on the ground pretty well. 38 points is a lot for any team, and for a team that, has led the league last year in rushing yards, for them to, he passed for 243 yards and got his guys involved, but the running game, Miles Sanders, 96 yards on the ground, Jalen Hurts, 90 yards on the ground, so that's pretty good when you have two guys who have about 90 yards rushing. Like I said, then Dallas Goedert got in the game with 3 catches for 60 yards. But Devontae Smith, no catches yesterday. Everything went to A.J. Brown, 10 receptions, 155 yards. Quite a game for A.J. Brown in his debut. Lions, though, DeAndre Swift shows that he can be a starting lead back in this league. 144 yards rushing yesterday. 50 yards was his long. This guy really showed up. And then receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Or Amon-Ra. I know his name, sorry. Amon-Ra St. Brown. He scored a touchdown, had 8 catches. Then DJ Chark got in the game with a touchdown. They have some weapons on this Lions team. TJ Hawkinson had a few grabs, but even Jamal Williams had 2 touchdowns, 11 rushes for 28 yards and 2 touchdowns. So the Lions kept it a game kind of late. They scored 14 points in the fourth quarter without any points scored by the Eagles in the fourth quarter. So that kind of was what skewed the score so much. It was, if they scored 38 and didn't score any points by the third quarter, it was 38-21 going into the fourth. The Lions had a lot of making up to do. They scored 2 touchdowns and were still down by 3 points. So good game all in all, though. The Eagles showed that they can still run the ball. They're going to be able to pass the ball more with A.J. Brown. Their defense played well, but giving up 35 points to the Detroit Lions is tough. The defense I thought would be better. And this Lions team really showed a lot of heart. They don't want to keep losing these games, but this one they kind of let slip away early. Like to see what they had, could offer later on in the game, making some point or come back a little bit. There just wasn't enough time at the end of the game for them to do anything regarding, trying to get a last-second field goal. Eagles win 38-35. They're now 1-0. Lions are 0-1. That means that Eagles are in first place of the division. The Commanders won as well, the Cowboys lost, and the Giants won as well. So every team except for the Cowboys in that NFC East won their matchup yesterday, which, Cowboys were, favored by a lot of people to win this division. They still might, but the Eagles look like a team to beat in that division, the team that I picked as the division winner. So then we have the Ravens and the Jets. This game was not as exciting as some of the other ones. This one was pretty much Joe Flacco early, scored a touchdown, but after that, late, Joe Flacco in the fourth quarter, he scored a touchdown, but early there wasn't much of anything for the Jets. Lamar Jackson, 3 touchdowns throwing. Not a lot on the ground for the Ravens, who, I think they were second in rushing a few years ago, or even first in a few years ago. But without J.K. Dobbins, they don't have much of a running game. They do have Kenyon Drake and Mike Davis, but those kind of guys are not really starting caliber. Rashad Bateman had a touchdown. Devin Duvernay had 2 grabs for touchdowns. Mark Andrews got in the game with 5 receptions. So, this Ravens team not really tested too much yesterday by this Jets offense with Joe Flacco. Like I said, they didn't score until the end of the fourth quarter, really. Flacco threw an interception. Nobody could really get anything going on offense. Michael Carter only had 60 yards on the ground, and Corey Davis had 6 grabs for 77 yards. He was kind of their big free agent signing last year. The rookie Garrett Wilson, though, had 4 grabs for 52 yards, and Elijah Moore had 5 grabs for 49 yards. These guys actually had a lot of catches. 7 catches for Michael Carter, 6 catches for Breece Hall. They were passing the ball around a lot, probably towards the end of the game. Yeah, Flacco had 59 attempts, 37 completions. That's 62%, 307 yards. He was throwing the ball around the yard a little bit, but probably towards the end there, they were down, 3-24 at the end of the third. They wasn't going to be a lot they could do to come back. Ravens let them kind of score that last touchdown there, and Flacco got it, passed it to the tight end, Conklin, for 3 yards, kind of with a minute 42 left in the game after Lamar Jackson had scored a deep touchdown pass to Rashad Bateman, 55 yards at the end of the third. So it was really, not really close the whole time. Kind of what I figured with Flacco. Without Zach Wilson, even though I don't think Zach Wilson makes a huge difference, without him, they really don't have a chance. I don't believe Joe Flacco is just not the guy anymore. Obviously, he still got a decent arm. He was throwing the ball around the yard. A lot of these young guys got catches, which is good experience for them, like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. But we have to see more out of the Jets. And tough loss at home week 1, 24-9. Ravens are 1-0. Jets are 0-1. So now on to another game in the AFC East. The Dolphins hosting the New England Patriots, who we all thought, I thought going in, the Patriots would struggle. We talked about it. We talked about how the Patriots have Matt Patricia as like their offensive coordinator. They have Joe Judge, who's a special teams guy, as like their quarterbacks coach. Belichick's going to call the plays. It's a mess in New England. It seems like a mess. It sounds like a mess. And yesterday it looked like a mess. Mac Jones, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. 21-30, which was actually pretty decent for him. He did get that touchdown too. I think it was Ty Montgomery. But otherwise, that was the only points the Patriots scored. Damian Harris, the running back, Ramondre Stevenson, only had like 75 yards rushing combined. Kind of a tough day for the Patriots. All in all, the defense didn't really show up. Tua was 23 of 33, which is 69.7%, 270 yards and a touchdown, a QBR of 113. Everybody who is down on Tua, accuracy is the key to the NFL. It is the key to success. It is the reason why Trey Lance and Justin Fields have big question marks about him. Tua, how many times a game do you throw at 70 yards? Yesterday, Rodgers threw it real far. It would have been a 75-yard touchdown, but Watson dropped it. You don't throw it deep that often. Tua is so deadly accurate, close, within 30 yards. That's about all you need. Tyreek Hill, 8 grabs, 94 yards. Jalen Waddle, 4 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown on a 42 long. They were passing the ball around. Chase Edmonds is fast. Cedric Wilson's quick. Raheem Mostert's quick. They didn't really get a lot going on the ground, but they didn't need it. They did, with how the struggles of the Patriots offense, the Dolphins didn't even do a whole lot. They weren't really, they forced a few fumbles though. They forced 2 fumbles, which is impressive, and they had that interception. But a couple sacks, 2 sacks only. They weren't really a crazy, relentless defense. The New England Patriots offense just was so poor, didn't do a whole lot at all. There was really, no flow to their game. Not able to run it. That's a staple of New England, is being able to pound the rock. We all saw what they did against Buffalo last year, but Dolphins came out, made a statement week 1. Patriots, even with Tom Brady in the past, the Patriots would kind of struggle at Miami. I always remember seeing that. Miami would win, or it'd be close, or they'd be ahead early and Brady would come back, things of that nature. But for this to be kind of a dominant performance, 20-7, Dolphins win. They are 1-0. Patriots are 0-1, but huge for McDaniels. Everybody says he kind of looks like a nerd, kind of looks like a geek, but this guy can coach football. He knows this offense, and he's got some weapons. Wow, he's got some weapons. So it's going to be really exciting to see how this Dolphins team kind of develops over the course of the season. So far, so good after week 1, though. Now on to a game that, I was really excited about seeing how Carson Wentz would do. The Washington Commanders hosted the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Carson Wentz did not disappoint. It was pretty crazy to watch at the end of this game. At the beginning, the Washington Commanders came out to a lead and kind of looked like it was going to be, so it was 3-0 at first, and then it was 14-3, and then Trevor Lawrence got into it. It was 14-9. They got a field goal. It was 14-12, and then Jacksonville took the lead. It was 15-14, and now Jacksonville is up 22-14 after a James Robinson touchdown. This is where Carson Wentz takes over. They're down 22-14, and Carson Wentz has the ball. He scores a touchdown, a deep throw to Terry McLaurin. Really nice pass, really good throw, really nice catch. Now they're down 20-24. They went for the 2-point conversion, I think, and they did not get it, so they were down 22-20. They were trying to tie it there, and then the defense holds against Trevor Lawrence. Carson Wentz gets the ball back, and he hits rookie Jahan Dotson out of Penn State for the win. They go for the 2-point conversion, and it is successful. Pass to McKissick, the running back, and the Commanders take a 28-22 lead. What a game. Carson Wentz, 4 touchdowns, 313 yards. He did throw 2 picks, but really a nice game for him. Last year he was like 27 touchdowns and 8 interceptions or something like that only. So he's a guy that he gets so much flack for some of his big mistakes. But this guy can play. He almost won an MVP a few years ago when Philadelphia went to the Super Bowl. He was the leader of that team, and then he got hurt, and then we all know Nick Foles carried him to the Super Bowl. But Antonio Gibson, a lot of plays yesterday, 58 yards on the ground, 72 through the air. Everybody was talking about him not being the starting running back. Looks like he is the guy. I really liked what I saw out of this team as a whole. Carson Wentz, Curtis Samuel, 8 receptions, 55 yards. Terry McLaurin, only 2 grabs for 58 yards. He's got to get more involved. But the rookie, like I said, Jahan Dotson with 3 grabs and a touchdown. Pretty good all in all for the Commanders. They look good on offense and defense. Obviously, you can't let the Jaguars get ahead like that. But, Jaguars played good too. They're, starting to learn a little bit Wow, Christian Kirk, 6 grabs, 117 yards in his Jacksonville debut. Trevor Lawrence back. He's got Doug Peterson as the coach. He threw 275 yards and a touchdown. James Robinson with 11 catches for 66, or 11 rushes for 66 yards, and one catch for 3 yards only. But Zay Jones, 6 grabs, 65 yards. Marvin Jones, 4 grabs, 38 yards. This team has some weapons. Travis Etienne, I wish would get more involved. He had 4 rushes for 47 yards. That's a 12-yard average, basically, with a 27 long. This guy needs to get more involved in the game. But, good start for the Jaguars. They put the pressure on the Commanders, and really good response from Carson Wentz and the Commanders. They looked really good. They got the W, 1-0. Jacksonville is 0-1, and, like I said, Dallas lost. So now the NFC East is wide open. I mean, Dallas is already behind. They lost Dak Prescott here. We'll get to that in a minute. But so far, it looks like it's going to be a tough year in that NFC East for any team that is not for the Cowboys. Like I said, Commanders, Giants, and the Eagles all won yesterday, and that is kind of not what anybody expected. Most people probably picked the Giants to lose and the Commanders to lose. Eagles were probably slated to win, but still, it is crazy. NFL is always crazy like that. So now on to probably the craziest game. Well, Steelers-Bengals was up there, but this game was nuts. It started off, it was about 20-3 to begin the game. The Colts kicked the field goal right away in the first, and then the second and third quarter, the Houston Texans jump out to a 20-3 lead heading into the fourth quarter. 20-3 heading into the fourth quarter. And we all know the Colts have Jonathan Taylor. They signed Matt Ryan. They have Michael Pittman. 9 receptions, 121 yards and a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor, 31 rushes, 161 yards on the ground, and a touchdown. This guy is already in midseason form. Looks like he is going to have a big year if he can continue to play like this. Super exciting to see the fact that, he's just kind of left off started where he left off last year. 4 catches for 14 yards. Should get more involved in the passing game. Alec Pierce, the rookie, Colts rookie, 0 catches, 0 yards. Tougher day for the rookie, but Nyheim Hines had 6 grabs for 50 yards, and Michael Pittman was the lead horse for the Colts. But like I said, they were down 20-3. Davis Mills, who I like a lot. I've talked about him. He 240 yards yesterday, 2 touchdowns. Second highest graded rookie quarterback last year behind Mac Jones. Dameon Pierce was the Texans' offseason training camp superstar. He had only 11 rushes for 33 yards. Rex Burkhead had more with 40 yards. Brandon Cooks led the team with 82 yards receiving on 7 grabs. But O.J. Howard, remember he was on Tampa, got cut, went to Buffalo. They didn't want him. Then he ended up in Houston. He had 2 catches, 38 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Both his catches went for touchdowns. Big for him. But like I said, they were up 20-3 after all that, going into the fourth quarter. Well, early in the fourth, with 10:44 to go, Blankenship hits a 27-yard field goal. That's a close field goal. That means that the Colts drove it down the field. 11 plays, 76 yards. Then, not too long after that, Jonathan Taylor rushes in for 2 yards. Touchdown. That was his first touchdown of the game. His only touchdown of the game. Now the score is 20-13. Tick, 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 tick. Defense plays well. Stops Houston. And now Matt Ryan gets the last drive. 7 plays, 80 yards in 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Matt Ryan hits Michael Pittman for his touchdown in the game. They tie it 20-20, go into overtime. And in 10 minutes of overtime, neither team could score any points. And they ended up tied. Pretty crazy. That's how it ended up, with how the momentum for the Colts was kind of leaning its way, and then how the Texans kind of had dominated all game until the end. They kind of sputtered out, but still, what a game. First tie of the 2022 season. Colts, Texans, 2020. It is 0-0-1 for both of those teams. Tough way to lose for the Texans because they had dominated. Good way not to lose for the Colts because they shouldn't have lost this game at all. But a tie for both of them is, probably kind of what the Texans were hoping for, either a tie or a win, and just not a loss. And Colts were hoping for a win and not a tie or a loss. So, Texans kind of came out on that one. But we'll see how that affects the schedule or the the record. Later on in the season, those ties can always kind of throw a wrench in the mix, and who knows, maybe they'll have another tie this season. Won the first week, probability is you probably won't have another one this year, but since it is so early, maybe you will. So then, a game that I'm super excited about. Packers lost Devontae Adams. He had 10 catches, 141 yards. Oh, wait, no, it wasn't 10. He did throw. Did they try to make him throw a pass here? I don't think they tried to make him throw a pass. It says 0 for 0, but he's underneath the quarterback thing. But he had 10 catches, 141 yards, a 41-yard long, a 14.1-yard average, which is all weird. It's 10, 141, 14.1 average, 41 long, and 1 touchdown. So Devontae, he's really good. He showed why he's really good, but at the expense of Hunter Renfrow, who only had 3 catches for 21 yards. Darren Waller, 7 grabs for 79 yards. Not much on the ground with Josh Jacobs, 57 yards. Derek Carr, 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions against this Chargers defense. He had 295 yards on 60% throwing. 3 interceptions, though. That is tough. You cannot have that. Everybody was saying, Derek Carr is one of the best quarterbacks in this division, but I think Herbert's the best. Well, Mahomes is probably the best. After yesterday, can't even say anything. But Herbert's right up there with them. Herbert was 26 of 34. That's 76.5% completion percentage, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 138.1 completion percentage. Austin Eckler couldn't get anything going on the ground, 36 yards. Josh Kelly, 21 yards. And Sony Michel only had 12 yards on the ground. Not much going, but, passing game, he's spreading the ball around. He hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different receivers. Keenan Allen had 4 grabs for 66 yards. And, Justin Herbert, 3 touchdowns, no picks. This defense really showed up. Interceptions from Asante Samuel, Bryce Callahan, and Drew Tranquill. 4 fumbles by Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa and Adderley. And then 3 sacks from Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack is back! Wow. Good thing he's not a Bear. Good thing he didn't do that for the Chicago Bears. Joey Bosa had a sack and a half. If Mack's on this pace, oh my gosh, that'd be crazy. But this defense, I said, Derwin James got a sack. Mack got 3 sacks. Bosa got a sack and a half. This defense with, Asante Samuel, this is crazy. To have this many guys make big plays on the defensive side of the ball. I really think that the Chargers are going to be tough. I picked them to win this division. I picked them to be the team to beat in the AFC. It looks like their defense is right up there with elite teams. I thought this would be how the Packers defense looked yesterday, but this is what real defenses do. They make the opposing team's offense uncomfortable, and they make plays. Wow, what they have, 3, 4, 5, 6 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 3 interceptions. That's quite a day for this Chargers defense. Wow, I'm impressed. They beat the Las Vegas Raiders 24-19. It was a lot closer than you'd probably think based on all the different, sacks and turnovers that the Raiders had, but maybe the Chargers kind of just took their foot off the gas. People are giving the Chargers coach so much flack for being too aggressive and overly aggressive and all that in all these different situations. So maybe he decided, well, we're going to take it a different direction and maybe just, win the game but not do too much. They didn't want to lose the game. They were already kind of in control. I just want to check and see kind of what the... So, yeah, it was... Well, wow. So, Chargers scored basically 17 in the first half, 7 in the third quarter, and nothing in the fourth quarter. Vegas had 3 points at halftime and they scored 16 in the second half to make it 19. So they were basically coming from behind the whole time. The Chargers probably ran the ball, some 3-and-outs, things of that nature. Just didn't put the pressure on like they thought they could have or maybe should have, but still came out with a W. Raiders are 0-1. People still have them projected high, but I think the Chargers are going to be the team to beat. That defense kind of showed it. That was week 1. They're already ahead of schedule. I already did kind of the Packers, but I'll run through the Packers and Vikings game real quick. Packers did lose 7-23. The Packers defense could not stop Justin Jefferson all game. I don't understand how you don't cover Jefferson. You got to put a guy on him, shadow him with Jair Alexander. Why you don't have Jair on him from the start, I will never understand it. It doesn't make sense to have a lockdown, shutdown cover corner and not put him on the other team's best guy. It just doesn't make sense. Why do you need to shut down Adam Thielen and Johnny Munt and KJ Osborne or Jalen Reagor when they have Justin Jefferson, who's a top 5? Shut him down. He had 9 receptions, 184 yards, 64-yard long, and 2 touchdowns. Too many plays. He was wide open in the middle of the field. Just tough day all around for the Packers defense. Way out of position, and just I didn't understand the scheme at all. Packers offensive line struggled. They gave up 4 sacks. There was a forced fumble. Jordan Hicks made Rodgers fumble in the pocket. Daniil Hunter got a sack. Zadarius Smith got a sack, which I did not want at all. Dalvin Cook had 90 yards on the ground. Wasn't a super dominant day for the Vikings at all. They only scored 23 points, but they did it way more than the Packers. Packers struggled. First play of the game, Christian Watson would have been a 75-yard touchdown bomb on the first play from scrimmage for the Packers offense, and he dropped it. After that, it kind of deflated the morale of this team. Watson didn't get another reception thrown his way until the fourth quarter. He ended up with 3 in the game. I think 2 of them came from Jordan Love at the end in garbage time. A.J. Dillon led the team in reception yards with 46 on 5 catches. You cannot have that. I like Dillon receiving. I like Aaron Jones receiving. They need to be in the game more. They need to get the ball more. Aaron Jones only 5 touches on the ground. 50 yards rushing. You can't have 5 attempts for 50 yards and not get the ball more. A.J. Dillon had 10 rushes for 45 yards. You can't have that kind of average and not get the ball more. He's the only one that scored a touchdown. He was stopped on 4th and 1. We did have other times where we could have got first downs. Could have made this a lot closer game if they just would have made a few more plays. Defense looked out of position, but then they'd make some stops, and I think they over-schemed them. Just line your guys up, mano on mano, put them on the best guy that they can be on. Put Jair on Jefferson, put Douglas on Thielen, put Stokes on Reagor. They kind of match up that way. You shouldn't have Preston Smith on Justin Jefferson, even though the yards were better when he was on him. It's kind of funny. It was like 1 catch for 5 yards. But still, you still can't put Preston Smith on Justin Jefferson. You shouldn't put Adrian Amos on Justin Jefferson. You need to have a cover corner on Jefferson, and it should be Jair Alexander. No questions asked. Don't do what you used to do with Jalen Ramsey, where you just kind of shut down the left side of the field. You don't need to shut down the left side of the field if all that's over there is Jalen Reagor and KJ Osborne. You need to stop Justin Jefferson. 184 yards is unacceptable, and you guys can tell I'm pissed, but tough game for the Packers. 22 of 34, 195 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. That's the 8th time in Rodgers' history in the NFL that he's had a game with 0 touchdowns and in 1 pick. Last year was probably the 7th one when they lost to the Saints in Jacksonville. Just tough all around. The running game looked like it could have got more going. The passing game should have got more going. If Watson catches that one, that's 75 more yards. That changes the whole dynamic of the game. Maybe we don't go for it on 4th and 1 at the goal line then. And then maybe we can, we're just closer all in all. Should have been a different game, but there's a lot to learn from. Some good things happened, but a lot more that needs to be figured out for this Packers team. But good win for the Vikings. Can't take anything away from their defense and doing enough on offense, scheming Justin Jefferson open, and just keeping Dalvin Cook involved enough that he was able to do some damage. So final score 23-7. Minnesota wins at home against the Green Bay Packers. They are now 0-1. The Vikings are 1-0. Bummer, but that is the NFL. And last year the Packers went on a 7-game win streak after the first game. So hopefully we'll see if they can do that this year. Now another crazy close game, which really looked like it was going to be a blowout. It was basically 13-0 at halftime. The Titans over the Giants. The Titans scored 7 points in the third quarter to make it 20. And the Giants started scoring. It was 13-20 at the end of the third, so they got it close. And then in the fourth quarter, they got a touchdown. Daniel Jones passed it to Mariak, and then a 2-point conversion with Saquon to take the lead. They didn't kick the extra point to tie at 20-20. They went for 2 to take the lead against the Titans in Tennessee, shocking everybody. Did not think that the Giants would win. Did not think the Giants would be very good this year. This still doesn't mean anything. Overreaction Monday. But Saquon Barkley had 18 carries for 164 yards. That's a 9.1 yard average and 68 yard long and a touchdown. Daniel Jones actually played pretty well. 17 of 21, 81% completion percentage, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. That's 125.8 QBR. Pretty good, you know. Leading receiver was Saquon with 30 yards, but a reception leader was Saquon. He had 30 yards, but Sterling Shepard had 2 catches for 71 yards with a 65-yard bomb for a touchdown. That's huge. And then Richie James, 5 of 59, the old 49ers receiver. But all in all, I mean, the Giants looked good. The Titans looked not bad early, but they just fizzled out. Derrick Henry, only 82 yards rushing. Tannehill, 2 touchdowns, 266 yards throwing it. But their leading receiver was Kyle Phillips. I don't even really know who that is. 21-yard long. Then Dontrell Hilliard, the running back, had 3 receptions, 61 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Traylon Burke, the rookie, 3 receptions, 55 yards. You know, they were passing the ball around, getting it to guys, but Robert Woods, the big free agent, or big signing this offseason for the Titans, 1 catch, 13 yards. Pretty underwhelming. Titans should have been running the ball more with Henry. I don't know what happened in the second half there. They just fizzled out completely. Giants go into Tennessee, into Nashville, and beat the Tennessee Titans 21-20 on a last-minute 2-point conversion attempt by the Giants to Saquon Barkley to win the game. Pretty impressive. I'm not going to lie. Did not expect that. Titans, after being a number 1 seed last year but fizzling out in the playoffs, people have them projected to be pretty good this year, and to lose their opening game against a team that, you know, has a lot of question marks, a new coach, and all those things, really is a shocker. But congratulations to the Giants. Now, we all know Patrick Mahomes is freaking good. We all know that he is probably one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the game. And yesterday, he did it again. He's got the most 5-touchdown, no-pick games in NFL history. And it's insane what he's doing. His numbers are going to be so far past anybody else ahead of him. 30 completions on 39 attempts, 76.9 completion percentage, which is nuts, 360 yards and 5 touchdowns, 154.6 QBR, highest of the week by far. What a crazy, crazy day. Travis Kelce, 120 yards receiving. Juju Smith, 79 yards receiving. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, 44 yards. I mean, he's spreading the ball around. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 2 touchdowns receiving. Mecole Hardman even got a touchdown. Jody Fortson got a touchdown. And then Isaiah Pacheco got a 12, led the team in rushing over Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Don't even know who Isaiah really is. Obviously, I could not pronounce his name. I wasn't expecting that. But we're going to probably learn it. If he keeps scoring touchdowns and being the lead dog in Kansas City, we will all know his name soon enough. But, I mean, it was crazy. They jumped out to basically a 23-7 lead at halftime, and then won 44-21 on 14 points in the third and 7 in the fourth. Cardinals scored 7 touchdown in the second and 14 more in the fourth quarter, but it just was not enough at all. Pretty crazy. Mahomes touchdown. James Conner ran up the middle, but then Mahomes touchdown. And then at the end, Kyler Murray did hit Marquise Hollywood Brown for a touchdown to make it 37-15. And then again, they went for 2-point conversion again, and they missed it. But that time he hit Zach Ertz for a short touchdown with 5 minutes to go. Pretty much out of reach. Kyle Murray, 2 touchdowns, 193 yards, decent QBR. They did put Trace McSorley in at the end there. I don't know if that was because they were shut out or if something happened to Murray. But Murray did lead the team in rushing yards with 29. That is not going to work for them. The leading receiver was Greg Dortch with 7 receptions for 63 yards. You have A.J. Green, you have Marquise Brown, you have Zach Ertz, and your leading receiver is Greg Dortch. Nothing against him. I never even heard that name, and pretty surprising. I did not expect to see that. Kyler Murray, like I said, cannot be your leading rusher. Endo Benjamin had 5 rushes for 28 yards. He was the leading running back. James Conner cannot have 10 carries for 26 yards. You need to get him more involved. But, this defense has to do more. They really did not have... they forced some fumbles. 3 fumbles yesterday. but no interceptions, no sacks. I mean, it's just tough sledding when the Chiefs come into town and just dominate a Cardinals team that has a decent offense and has some players. Mahomes just looks good. He's in midseason form. Looks like he is MVP ready. Chiefs look good. I really didn't know how good the Chiefs would be. I thought losing Hill and Honey Badger would be tough losses for the Chiefs team. I know Mahomes is great. I know that. But I just thought he'd have to do a lot more. It is only one game. Maybe the Cardinals are a lot worse team than we previously thought, and it just was a shellacking because of that. But Chiefs played really well on both sides of the ball. It was an impressive victory, 44-21. Chiefs are 1-0. Cardinals are 0-1. It's gonna be crazy. Tonight's a big game with the Broncos to try to keep pace with the Chiefs, but the Chargers won, the Raiders lost, obviously, but the Chiefs winning, and now we'll get to see what the Broncos can do. Then the final game of Sunday, game of the it wasn't the game of the week, but to me it was one of the bigger games of the day. Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now this game is last year they played week 1 and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers came out and won. However, it was kind of Dak, threw it all over the field. Zeke looked good. You could tell this team had some pieces. And last night, I don't know how any Dallas Cowboy fan can defend what they saw. They scored a field goal on a nice drive, and the opening drive in the first quarter, 51-yard field goal by Bill Maher. They had a 14-play, 54-yard drive that took up 5 minutes and 58 seconds to kick that 51-yard field goal. It's a lot of plays to only go 54 yards, but they got a field goal out of it. After that, Tampa Bay kicked 1, 2, 3, 4 field goals in a row throughout the end of the first and into the second quarter. They're only up 12-3 at this point. Dallas's defense really, really played well all around. Obviously, Trayvon Diggs is a beast on the back end. Donovan Wilson got an interception on Tom Brady, which doesn't happen often. Micah Parsons got 2 sacks on big third down plays in the red zone for Tampa. Or for Dallas, when Tampa was in the red zone. Micah Parsons basically spin move on the young guy. They had their Tampa Bay's left tackle just went out. They brought in a young guy right away. Micah Parsons spin moves them, sack, and then on the next drive they get down there again. Same thing happens. Both times they have to kick field goals. But even Micah Parsons, 2 sacks isn't enough. Khalil Mack had 3, so he's already in competition for Defensive Player of the Year. Micah Parsons is great, though. He just cannot do it all on his own. Really tough when Ezekiel Elliott only has 10 rushes for 52 yards. Tony Pollard, 6 carries for 8 yards. And he's slated as probably the best running back on the team. It doesn't even make sense. Noah Brown was their leading receiver with 68 yards on 5 catches. Dalton Schultz, 7 catches for 62 yards. CeeDee Lamb, only 2 catches for 29 yards. Now that cannot happen. That is deplorable. You cannot have a guy like CeeDee Lamb with that much talent, only 2 catches on 11 targets. Amari Cooper did better than that, I think. Actually, last time I saw Amari struggled early in the first half, but still, if you can't let go of Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson just to give the keys to CeeDee Lamb and then have Noah Brown be your leading receiver, that is not sustainable for the rest of the season, and obviously the Cowboys have bigger issues than that. I'll get to Tampa Bay real quick before I talk about what else is going on with the Cowboys. Really tough. Tom Brady, 18-27, 212 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Kind of underwhelming. However, Leonard Fournette had one of the best days as a running back, 21 carries, 127 yards. His little 265-pound weight issue doesn't seem to be that much of an issue. Julio Jones got involved on some end-arounds. He had 2 carries for 17 yards. He also had 3 grabs for 69 yards and a really nice 48-yard long. He made some catches yesterday that remind me of Julio Jones of the old Atlanta Falcons, and the Titans are probably like, where's that Julio been? Mike Evans had 5 catches, 71 yards, and that touchdown late. Like I said, they had kicked 4 field goals to make it 12-3. Going into the third quarter, Then Tampa Bay did score that touchdown to Mike Evans to make it 19-3, and neither team scored in the fourth quarter. Obviously, though, after Dak Prescott, he was throwing the ball and he kept hitting his hand on the opponent's helmet. It was like 3 plays in a row or something, where he came over to the sideline and said something is not right. It is likely 6 to 8 weeks on this thumb injury. That's the first report from Sports Illustrated. Wow. With thumb fracture, I cannot believe it. I knew it was a thumb injury. I knew it was semi-serious, but 6 to 8 weeks, that is the Cowboys season. They almost have to go out and trade for Jimmy Garoppolo this second. If the Cowboys don't trade for Jimmy Garoppolo and they stick with Cooper Rush, their season is all but over. I do not think they can overcome that. This is really a devastating blow for Dak and the Cowboys. They already are struggling to move the ball. They don't have a lot of weapons outside. They needed Dak to be the quarterback in order to kind of keep this engine moving. Without Dak, they are in for a tough slate of games. They have the Bengals next, who are not going to make the same amount of mistakes they did against the Steelers. Then the Giants, who are coming off a win. Commanders coming off a win. Then they have the LA Rams, who are not going to lay down. Then they go to the Eagles, which they looked really good. They have the Lions. That'll be tough. The Lions played well. Then the Bears, who came off a win. And then they have to go to Packers. So let's see how many. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 weeks is November 13th. At Packers. Maybe that's what he'll shoot for. Maybe it'll be October 30th, the noon game where the Chicago Bears come to Dallas to play. But either way, it'll be. They have that bye week between October 13th and November 13th. On like November 7th or 6th, I guess they have a bye week. So that will help Dak. Maybe he'll plan to come back after that Cowboys Bears game after that bye week when they come in and play the Packers. That will be 8 weeks. So maybe he'd be able to come back in 6 or 7. 6 would be the Bears game. 7 would be the bye week. 8 would be the Packers game. So we will see. But if the Cowboys are 0-8, I mean, I don't see them winning any games with Cooper Rush. There's not enough firepower. The defense only has 2 guys, Diggs and Parsons. The rest of the team looked lost. Really, not a lot of pieces to be excited about. It really was tough all around. I'm gonna just see quick what kind of defensive stats these guys had. 1 interception, like I said, for Wilson, 2 sacks for Parsons. That was it. No forced fumbles. Scoring 3 points on opening night when you had Dak for most of the game. I know he got hurt in the fourth quarter, and it was a tough loss because you're already losing, but you cannot have that happen. That's just, you can't only score 3 points, and obviously Dak getting hurt is a tough loss. Man, 6 to 8 weeks. It's always better when the Cowboys are, decent enough that people are talking about them, but I don't want them to win the Super Bowl. So just relevant. That's all. It's better when they're relevant. Tough to watch somebody get hurt, and that's the reason why they're not going to be relevant. We'll see what they do. Like I said, maybe they'll go out and get Jimmy G. Maybe they'll go try to get Tyler Huntley. Maybe somebody will call Packers and try to get Jordan Love. There are options out there for teams. Mariota played good for the Falcons, but they have Desmond Ridder, who they like. Not saying they would go there, but who knows what's going to happen now. Dallas needs a quarterback. Browns might need a quarterback. Jets are going to need a quarterback, depending. There's some question marks all over the league here, and Cowboys are probably the team that had the most hype with the most talent that had the quarterback go down now. We will see what they do. Like I said, Jimmy G. As much as I hate the 49ers and the fact they beat the Packers, and as much as I hate the Cowboys for what they did in the 90s to the Packers, I still want teams to be relevant, and I hate to see a team struggle because of injuries, but it is part of the game, it is part of the NFL, and all teams deal with it. So, tough loss, 19-3. Tampa Bay goes into Jerry World, beats the Cowboys. They're 1-0. Cowboys are 0-1 in a tough division now with 3 other teams in their division winning yesterday. So now we're on to the Denver Broncos and Seattle Seahawks. Like I said, it is the first game back to Seattle for Russell Wilson. I'm excited. Not really a lot of injuries. Billy Turner, KJ Hamler might be out, Randy Gregory. for the Broncos. And for Seattle, Kenneth Walker and Damian Lewis are questionable. There's some other injuries as well. But for the most part, Broncos are favored to win. It looks like, yeah, they're, well, not by even much, though. They're only favored by 59 to 41%. Kind of interesting, but I really think with this Broncos team, with the Seattle question marks, Drew Lock, they don't have, they have DK Metcalf and they have Tyler Lockett, but I really think that this Broncos defense is just going to be too much. Russell Wilson's really good. He's got weapons on the outside now. Well, he did before, but he's got an offensive line with weapons on the outside and two really good running backs in Javonte Williams and obviously Melvin Gordon. I just really like this Broncos team. It reminds me of a few years ago when they had when they had a good team, but they ended up getting Peyton Manning. They have an offensive line. They have Garrett Bowles still. They have Casey Tucker. They have Tom Compton. It's just they have really good Dalton Reisner. They have really good offensive linemen. Then Billy Turner's back on their team. He came to the Packers for a while. But if KJ Hamler can go, they have Cortland Sutton. They have Jerry Jeudy on the outside. These guys are big play receivers, and Russell Wilson is a big play quarterback. You put them together, and now you got really an explosive unit. They got Greg Dulcich, the rookie out of UCLA. He's a guy that can really play. Obviously, they traded away Noah Fant to get Russell Wilson, but to have a guy like Greg Dulcich, who's really, really talented receiver, I'm excited about this team. Obviously, they lost Tim Patrick. He's injured. But on defense, they really have a lot of pieces as well. Let's see, Jonathan Harris, the D lineman, Chris Allen as a linebacker, Pat Surtain Jr., Randy Gregory, like I said, Bradley Chubb as the outside linebacker, Nick Bonito, the rookie they just drafted, he could be really explosive. It's going to be exciting. DJ Jones, the big D lineman they got in the trade with Seattle for Russell Wilson, and the linebacker, Maga, Kareem Jackson, the safety. This is a solid defensive group with a really solid new offense. I'm excited to see what this Broncos team can do. Like I said again, the Seattle team just doesn't have enough on defense, doesn't have enough really on either side of the ball. I do like Metcalf. I do like Lockett. I do like Drew Lock too. I just think he's too inconsistent, going to make too many mistakes, and it's just going to be tough for Seattle to get anything going. They are at home, so Russell Wilson will have to deal with the 12 without it being supporting him, so he'll get to receive what it was like for other teams to go in there and have to play against them. But they have some pieces, Arcega Whiteside, who should have stepped up more. He hasn't been much. They do have Rashawn Petty, who I like at running back, Will Dissly at tight end, Travis Homer, another running back. Like I said, DK Metcalf is good, but they just, Marquise Goodwin, he's a speedster receiver, the old 49er guy. That's really it on offense. I know, like I said, Tyler Lockett, but definitely not the Legion of Boom like they used to have back in the day, and it is tough because you have a coach who's 70 years old plus, you got a quarterback who didn't want to be there, so now you're dealing with these young guys. It's hard to try to get guys to play good, but also sell the fact that, okay, we're probably not going to be good and we want to get the first round pick so we can get, either the Alabama quarterback or the Ohio State quarterback or whoever, So it is CJ Stroud, I don't know who they're going to want, but it's just, if their team's not going to be good and that's what they're aiming for, it's hard to get guys to play and try to do well when you're not really putting in the work to do well. So we'll see how Seattle does. A lot of surprises this weekend, a lot of close games this weekend, a lot of blowouts that kind of went the other way from what people expected. But still, the Seattle team, we'll see how they do, but I'm looking for Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos to come in and get their first win, kind of be in a battle with the other teams in that AFC West, the Chargers and the Chiefs who won yesterday. Big surprises for the most part, kind of the Steelers beating the Bengals, like I said. Bengals coming off the Super Bowl, that's kind of a surprise. 49ers losing to the Bears, Bears winning, that was kind of a surprise. Dolphins beating the Patriots, maybe a surprise. Houston beating the Colts, or tying with the Colts, that was a surprise. Vikings beating the Packers, Giants beating the Titans. and pretty much, the rest of them we kind of expected. Buccaneers being the Cowboys, Chiefs being the Cardinals. But anything can happen on any given Sunday, and that's just the way it is. Thank you for watching Overreaction Monday on everything Packers. We talk everything football, really. I just always have a perspective on the rest of the league, and I just like talking football. So I'm excited. Week 1 is almost in the books. We do have a great game tonight, but hopefully Week 2 can go just as well for your team as it did this week. If you guys won, and if your team lost, hopefully they can bounce back next week. I know I'm hoping for the Packers to have a bounce back game. Did not expect them to lose to the Vikings as bad as they did, like they did last year, but it is what it is. Hopefully they can bounce back against these Bears next week and make it a season. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for everything Packers and everything football related, insight and predictions and updates and news and everything. So thanks again for watching. Peace out, guys, and go Packers. See you in the next one.